Hey guys, it's Steven from Frachelli and welcome to my kitchen. In this episode, we're going to make a colorful and delicious appetizer. It's a trio of crostini. The first, we're going to do a ricotta cheese with grape tomato and basil. The second, fresh mozzarella and roasted red peppers. The third, truffle butter and pancetta. Camerawoman Courtney, you ready to start cooking? Okay, first we're actually going to heat up a small frying pan and use that to heat up our pancetta. This is thin sliced pancetta that came in package from the supermarket. Tastes really good. We're not putting any oil or butter or anything like that in the pan because pancetta is basically Italian bacon. It doesn't need any, it's got its own grease and oil, so it'll cook just fine. You're not going to want to leave this alone, so definitely hover over this so you don't overcook it. It is very thinly sliced. Okay, just after a very short while, you'll see the pancetta has shriveled up a bit, but that's great because it's going to fit really nicely on top of the bread. And then we're going to go ahead, turn off the heat, and remove it from the heat. Go on ahead and pull the pancetta off the pan just so it doesn't overcook and burn, but keep the pan out. We're going to use that right before we serve it to just heat it up and give it a little extra heat. So next we're going to make the topping for the ricotta, grape tomato, and basil crostini. So I have grape tomatoes, fresh basil, a bowl, some olive oil, and some salt and pepper. So we're just gonna go ahead and rinse some tomatoes, and you more or less wanna cut these into like thirds, but nice big chunks. And before you do that, go ahead and cut the very tips off because sometimes that's where just not as yummy. Okay. And then for the basil, very simple, you wanna give it a good rinse again. Let's be safe. And then you could use a knife or just rip it into pieces and just make it the same size as the tomato. Okay, next part, super simple. We're just gonna throw the tomatoes and basil into a bowl. And then if you see that you have some bigger chunks of basil that didn't quite go through with a knife, which happens all the time, just break them up with your hand. Don't overthink it. Then we're gonna throw that all in there. You want essentially a half basil to half tomato ratio. And then we're gonna give it a generous coating of olive oil. This is some of it's gonna drip off when we serve it, so don't worry about putting too much on it. And then we're gonna give it 2 cracks of salt and 2 cracks of pepper. That was 2.5, but that's okay. We don't cook with exact recipes, we cook with the passion, and sometimes the passion you get 2.5 instead of 2. So then just give that a little stir, and then we can go ahead and put that on the side. All right, we're finally at the bread, and in my hand we have a French baguette. While we're on the subject, we're also currently cooking a nice French onion soup with a red wine reduction, so make sure to check that recipe out as well. We're going to use the leftover bread from that. So when slicing the bread, you don't want to overthink in terms of actual thickness. What's important is remembering that you're going to be putting stuff on top of this bread, so while you don't want it too thick, you don't want it too thin either where there's holes in the bread and stuff falling through. So each loaf of bread's a little different. We're gonna just cut the ends off so it just looks nice. And I'm gonna try, this is about yay thick and no holes. So this is how I'm gonna cut the rest. It's not always gonna be perfect on the first one, but you get an idea. And if you do get to a spot in the bread where there is a hole, you might need to discard that piece because again, you don't want stuff falling through it. There's gonna be stuff served on top of this bread. We're now ready to prep the bread. What I have here is the ricotta cheese, black pepper, truffle butter, olive oil, and the tools, super simple. Just have a butter knife and a spoon. We'll start with the ricotta crostini, and we're just gonna spread that a nice generous amount on it. You could use the back of the spoon to spread it out. You could use a knife for this, a fork, doesn't really matter. I just like to use a spoon. And then we're gonna give it a little drip of olive oil. For the roasted red pepper crostini, very simple. I shouldn't have put this down. We're just gonna use a little bit more olive oil. Coat it nicely on here. So just a nice even coating of olive oil. And then a crack of black pepper. And I skipped a step on the ricotta. We're gonna actually put a crack of black pepper on there too. And on to the last one, the truffle butter. Very simple. We're just gonna spread some truffle butter. And you don't have to really coat the entire thing because the truffle butter is very polarizing and strong. So just a little bit there, and about that much should be good. And now these are ready, and what I did was I preheated the oven to 350, and I'm actually gonna bake these until they're nice and crispy, but not like crunchy like a toast, and the ricotta is nice and melted on there. So we're just gonna cook them and keep an eye on them. We are almost there. I had the bread in for about 5 minutes at 350. It's looking great. we're gonna go ahead and top this off, and then we'll be all finished here. So starting with the ricotta and tomato basil, we're simply now just gonna top the cold tomato and basil on there. And basil could get stuck to the bottom of the stuff. So again, you want about a 50-50 portion there. So don't be afraid to use your hands and even it out and straighten it up yourself. For the mozzarella here, I have some fresh mozzarella. I'm just gonna break it into small, tiny pieces. And then I'm gonna take a couple red peppers here and put it on top. Beautiful. And then for this one, we're going to do a quick drizzle of olive oil again, and a crack of black pepper. The pancetta, I just heated the pan back up just a little bit. You just really just want to warm it. No major thing there. I'm going to go ahead and top that there. And now we have a beautiful trio of crostini ready to serve and ready to eat. These are going straight to camerawoman Courtney's just getting a little antsy back there. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and please like. This is a brand new channel. This is one of our first 3 cooking videos, so we're looking for feedback. So also add comments and tell us what you thought. If you do make the dish, tell us what you thought. And I hope you guys do, because it's really, really great. Thank you so much for watching. Bon appetit.